Fear is a liar. It does not speak in facts, but in distorted possibilities. It weaves worst-case scenarios into your thoughts, convincing you they are inevitable. It disguises itself as caution, as logic, as preparation, but underneath the surface, it is manipulation. Fear is not there to protect you, it's there to trap you. Its voice echoes with what-ifs and not good enoughs, planting seeds of hesitation even when the path is clear. Fear whispers doubt, not truth. It questions your abilities when you're more than capable. It turns confidence into second-guessing and dreams into hesitation. It doesn't wait for proof. It feeds off uncertainty. Even when you're surrounded by support, talent, or opportunity, fear finds cracks and slips through. It distorts your vision, making you see obstacles where there are none. It takes a single mistake and magnifies it into failure. It takes silence and fills it with imagined rejection. It's not your friend. It's a voice pretending to be one. It tells you it's protecting you from embarrassment, from pain, from loss, but what it really protects you from is growth. It shields you from risk, yes, but it also blocks you from reward. Fear keeps you small by convincing you that small is safe. It comforts you with the illusion of control while quietly robbing you of progress. You think you're being careful, but really you're being caged. Fear often shows up when you're on the edge of something important. It senses momentum and tries to stall it. Right before you act, it chimes in with what if you fail or you're not ready. It sees you stretching and immediately tries to shrink you back down. It's clever. It uses your own voice to speak. It makes its doubts sound like your own thoughts, so you believe them. It speaks just loud enough to distract, but quiet enough to blend in. It doesn't care about what's real, only about what might go wrong. Fear doesn't evaluate truth. It speculates, exaggerates, and forecasts doom. It doesn't consider how strong you've become or how far you've come. It only looks at the one thing that might go wrong and ignores the 100 things that are going right. It tells you you're not ready, even when you are. It convinces you to wait, not because it's wise, but because it's afraid. And the worst part? You believe it. Because fear is persistent. It repeats its message until it feels familiar, and what's familiar starts to feel true. You hesitate not because you lack courage, but because fear has told the story so many times you've memorized it. You start seeing limits where there should be possibility. You start retreating from things you actually want. You start mistaking fear's voice for your own. You were not born with fear. You came into the world with wonder, curiosity, and instinct, but fear was something that arrived later. It crept in through experiences, through words, through reactions of others. You touched something hot and were warned. You stumbled and were scolded. You reached for something big and were told to stay small. Bit by bit, fear began to attach itself to certain actions, certain dreams, certain thoughts. It wasn't something inside you, it was something handed to you. It was taught piece by piece, sometimes intentionally, sometimes unconsciously. Maybe a parent meant well, warning you not to get your hopes up. Maybe a teacher laughed when you got the answer wrong. Maybe someone you trusted made you feel foolish for trying. Over time, you started to anticipate pain where there hadn't yet been any. You internalized the fear of rejection, the fear of failure, the fear of standing out. You started to hold back thinking it was smart when really it was survival. Fear was conditioned like a reflex, like muscle memory. You learned to associate stepping forward with danger, even if that danger never came. Your brain started connecting ambition with anxiety, movement with risk. You heard things like, be careful, don't be too confident, what if it doesn't work? Over and over until those voices became your own. Fear became automatic, not because it belonged to you, but because repetition turned it into habit. But here's the truth. If it can be learned, it can be unlearned. Conditioning can be broken. Patterns can be rewired. Just as your mind was taught to shrink in the face of risk, it can be taught to expand in the face of it. You can reintroduce courage into the spaces where fear used to live. You can challenge the voice that says, don't try, with one that says, what if it works? You don't have to believe every alarm fear rings. You can stop, listen, and choose differently. Unlearning fear takes time, but it begins with awareness. You start to notice when fear is speaking and separate it from reality. You begin to ask, whose voice is this, and is this actually true? You take small steps in spite of the worry. You speak even when your voice trembles. You show up even when you feel exposed. Each time you do, you prove fear wrong, and each time it gets a little quieter. Fear may not disappear, but it no longer leads. The process is not about becoming fearless. It's about learning that fear doesn't get the final word. It's about retraining your mind to respond with curiosity instead of retreat. You're not broken for feeling fear. You're just running an old program that no longer fits who you are. And just as it was downloaded into you, it can be rewritten. Fear doesn't define you. It's just something you were taught to carry. And now you can choose to set it down. Action kills fear. Fear thrives in stillness, in hesitation, in overthinking. It grows stronger when you pause, when you overanalyze, when you wait for the right moment. But the second you move, even a little, fear starts to lose its grip. It's in action that momentum builds, clarity sharpens, and courage awakens. When you act, you disrupt fear's favorite environment, your mind. Because fear lives in imagination, not in motion. The moment you move forward, fear starts dying. It can't survive in the space where decisions are being made and steps are being taken. It hates progress because progress proves it wrong. Fear predicts disaster, but action shows survival. Fear says you can't, and action replies, watch me. With every step, fear is forced to retreat, not because it disappears entirely, but because it can't stand beside belief and movement at the same time. Every time you do the thing fear warns you against, you strip it of its power. Fear is loudest before the leap. That moment, right before you speak, start, or step forward, that's when it screams. But action quiets it instantly, not because you stop feeling afraid, but because you stop feeding it. Fear feeds on delay. It feeds on what if, and not yet. Action starves it. Even the smallest move forward chips away at its foundation. It proves that fear's warnings were just noise, not prophecy. You don't have to feel ready to act. That's the myth fear tells you, that confidence must come first, but confidence is built through action, not before it. You build trust in yourself by doing the hard things while you're afraid, not by waiting until the fear is gone. The very act of beginning creates strength. You learn more in one moment of movement than in 100 moments of worry. Action teaches you what fear never will, that you are capable. Fear shrinks when reality enters, because most of what you fear never happens. Most of what you dread is based on imagined outcomes, not lived ones. But once you act, you shift from imagination to experience. You stop speculating and start knowing, and in that knowing, fear can no longer deceive you. Each time you act, you rewrite the story fear told you. Each time you move, you make room for courage to grow louder. This is why the most powerful thing you can do is simply begin. Not perfectly, not without fear, but with enough will to say I'm doing it anyway. Because fear can only sit in the passenger seat if you keep driving. It only has the power you hand it. And once you move, even a little, you remind fear it doesn't own you, you own the choice. Faith over fear. It's a powerful declaration. The truth is, you can't hold both. The two cannot coexist in the same space for long. They pull you in opposite directions. Fear roots you in doubt. Faith lifts you toward possibility. Fear makes you see obstacles, while faith helps you see opportunities. It's a choice, one you must make repeatedly, because both will try to take over your life. But the moment you decide on faith, fear begins to lose its power. Fear tells you all the things that can go wrong, all the ways you might fail, and all the reasons you should hold back. It's loud, persuasive, and often rooted in the unknown. Faith, on the other hand, doesn't need to know the full picture. It's the belief that no matter what happens, you have the strength to face it. Faith is the quiet confidence that things will work out even if you can't see how right now. It's not about ignoring reality, it's about trusting in the process, even when you can't control the outcome. You can't have both. If you're holding on to fear, it clouds your vision, making everything seem impossible. But when you choose faith, you open the door to growth, to possibility, to progress. Faith doesn't erase fear, it simply makes it irrelevant. Fear might still be there, whispering doubts, but with faith, you don't need its permission to move forward. Faith gives you the courage to act anyway, to take the next step without needing all the answers, knowing that each step will bring you closer to the person you are meant to be. The struggle between fear and faith is a constant one. It's not about being fearless. It's about choosing which voice you will listen to. Fear will always offer you a way out, a reason to stay in your comfort zone, a justification for not trying. Faith will ask you to take a leap, to trust in yourself and in something greater than your immediate circumstances. It's a choice to believe in your potential, to embrace the unknown, and to keep going even when the path seems unclear. Choosing faith doesn't mean you won't feel afraid. It means you're willing to move forward anyway. It means that even when fear shows up, you don't let it stop you. Instead, you choose to focus on what's possible, on what you can create, and on the trust that you have what it takes. You stop seeing fear as an obstacle and start seeing it as a sign that you're moving in the right direction. Because when you have faith, you understand that every step you take, even if it's uncertain, is part of your growth. When you choose faith over fear, you take back your power. You no longer let fear dictate your decisions or hold you back from what you want in life. Faith becomes your foundation, your guiding star. And the more you choose faith, the less room fear has to thrive. It becomes a distant voice that loses its hold on your heart. And in its place, you find confidence, hope, and the courage to keep moving forward. The choice is always yours, faith or fear. But when you choose faith, you unlock your true potential. Your purpose is greater than your fear. It's an undeniable truth that when you tap into your deeper calling, fear loses its grip. Fear may still be present, whispering doubts, but your purpose serves as a reminder that what you're here to do is far more important than any of the obstacles fear throws in your way. Your mission, the reason you get up each day, is the driving force that has the power to overpower hesitation. It's the fuel that keeps you moving even when fear tries to block your path. Fear at its core is a survival mechanism. It's trying to protect you from what it perceives as danger. But often, it's not real danger, it's just the unknown. Your purpose, on the other hand, is connected to something greater than yourself. It's the thing that gives your life meaning, the thing that makes the hard days worth it. When you focus on your mission, it's as if you're being pulled forward by something that's more powerful than your fears. Your purpose reminds you that what you are creating or contributing matters. And in the face of that, fear starts to feel small. Let your mission silence your hesitation. Every time fear tries to make you question your worth, your ability, or your direction, remind yourself why you started. The greater your purpose, the less room there is for doubt. Hesitation comes from overthinking, from the fear of making a mistake or facing rejection. But when your mission is clear, your actions become guided by intention, not by the need for perfection. You move not because you have no fear, but because your purpose is bigger than any temporary feeling of discomfort or uncertainty. Your purpose is the compass that helps you navigate through fear. It brings clarity to your decisions, gives direction to your actions, and helps you stay grounded when everything else feels shaky. The more aligned you are with your mission, the more confident you become in your ability to face challenges. Fear no longer feels like an obstacle, but a signal that you're on the right path. The greater the mission, the greater the resilience to face whatever fears come your way. Every time you hesitate, every time fear tries to hold you back, reconnect with your purpose. What is it that you're striving for? What is the greater impact you want to make? The moment you focus on the reason you're doing what you're doing, your hesitation fades away. You remember that your mission is worth the discomfort of stepping outside your comfort zone. Your purpose will always be there, guiding you forward when fear tries to keep you stuck. The power of purpose is that it turns fear into fuel. It transforms hesitation into action, procrastination into progress. When your purpose is stronger than your fear, you don't wait for the perfect moment. You create it. You stop looking for permission and start taking responsibility for the impact you are meant to have. Your purpose is not just a reason to keep going. It is the force that makes hesitation irrelevant. Let it lead you, let it silence the voice of fear, and let it push you toward the future you were always meant to build. Failure is not your enemy. Fear of it is. It's the fear of failing that paralyzes you, that keeps you stuck in place, waiting for the perfect moment that never comes. Failure in and of itself is not something to fear. It's simply a part of the process, a natural step toward growth. The real enemy is the fear that tells you failure is the end, that it defines you or dictates your worth. Fear convinces you that a fall is a sign of defeat, but in truth, it's just a part of the journey to success. The fear of failure is insidious. It stops you from trying, from pushing yourself, from reaching for something greater. It convinces you that if you fail, you will be judged, rejected, or not good enough. But this fear is based on the false belief that failure is permanent, that it has the power to define you. The truth is, failure is temporary. It's an event, not an identity. It's not something that breaks you, it's something that teaches you. The fear of failure is the real barrier, because it keeps you from learning the lessons that only come through falling. Embrace the fall as how you rise. The greatest growth happens not in moments of success, but in moments of struggle. In the times when you've fallen and had to get back up. It's in those moments that resilience is built, that your true strength is revealed. Every time you fall, you have the chance to rise higher, to learn more, and to approach things with newfound wisdom. Failure teaches you what didn't work, but it also shows you how to improve, how to try again, how to refine your approach. Without failure, there can be no progress, no innovation, no true mastery. When you embrace failure, you stop seeing it as something to avoid and start seeing it as an opportunity to grow. Failure is the proof that you're pushing boundaries, taking risks, and stepping outside your comfort zone. If you're not failing, you're probably not trying hard enough. Every fall, every misstep is a sign that you're actively participating in your own evolution. And the most successful people in the world know that failure is simply a part of their journey, not a reason to quit. They know that the road to success is paved with failures, and they embrace each one as a valuable lesson. The fall is not the end. It's a step towards something greater. It's the reset you need to approach things with a fresh perspective. The fear of failing may try to stop you, but when you recognize that failure is only a setback and not a permanent state, you give yourself permission to try again and again. The more you embrace failure, the more you free yourself from its grip. You stop fearing it and start using it as a tool to sharpen your skills, refine your process, and come back even stronger. So, don't let the fear of failure hold you back. Fall as many times as you need to, but always rise. The real failure comes when you let fear dictate your actions, when you let it keep you from pursuing what you truly want. Every fall is an opportunity, every setback a lesson. The key is not to avoid failure, but to embrace it as part of your journey, because it's how you rise that truly matters. Speak to your fear, call it out. Fear thrives in silence. It grows stronger when you keep it hidden, when you allow it to fester in the quiet corners of your mind. It's easy to let it sit there, silently whispering doubts and holding you back. But when you bring it into the light, when you name it and confront it, it loses some of its power. Fear only controls you as long as you let it remain unchallenged, as long as you allow it to operate in the background, dictating your choices without question. The moment you speak to it, you take away its secrecy and in turn its strength. Fear isn't something to avoid, it's something to engage with. It's not an enemy you must fight with all your might, but rather an obstacle you can face with awareness and intention. When you speak to your fear, you acknowledge it. You give it space to be heard, but you don't let it rule the conversation. Saying, I see you, I understand what you're trying to protect me from, but I'm moving forward anyway, is a powerful way to take back control. By calling it out, you make it clear that it doesn't get to define your actions or limit your potential. Don't let it sit quietly inside. Fear often stays quiet until you try to step out of your comfort zone. It whispers at the edges of your mind, you're not good enough. What if you fail? What will they think of you? But when you let these thoughts roam unchecked, they start to sound like truth. Speaking to your fear forces you to separate fact from fiction. When you vocalize it, you give yourself the chance to examine its legitimacy. Is it based on reality, or is it a shadow of what ifs and worst case scenarios? Often fear isn't grounded in actual danger, but in the uncertainty of what might happen. By speaking to it, you make the unknown more manageable. Engaging with your fear can also help you understand its root. What is it really afraid of? Is it the fear of failure, rejection, or the unknown? Once you identify the source of your fear, you can dismantle it piece by piece. Is the fear of failure based on past experiences, or is it something you've imagined? Is the fear of rejection rooted in a specific event, or is it the result of general anxiety? When you speak to your fear, you give yourself the opportunity to dig deeper, to understand it, and in turn to weaken its hold over you. Fear doesn't go away just because you wish it would. But you don't need to be rid of it to move forward. You only need to speak to it, acknowledge its presence, and decide that it doesn't have the final say in your actions. Every time you call out your fear, you affirm your strength, your resilience, and your ability to navigate through discomfort. Fear becomes less of an enemy and more of a companion you can keep in check, a reminder that you are doing something outside of your comfort zone, and that's where growth happens. So, when fear comes knocking, speak to it. Ask it what it's afraid of and remind it that you're capable of handling whatever it's trying to protect you from. By calling it out, you strip it of its power to control you. You replace hesitation with action, doubt with determination, and fear with the courage to keep going. The more you confront your fear directly, the less it will be able to hold you back. Every champion had fear. Fear of failure, fear of the unknown, fear of not being enough. But what sets them apart is not that they were fearless. It's that despite their fear, they chose to move anyway. They understood that fear is a natural part of the journey, a companion that shows up whenever you're pushing boundaries, striving for something greater. Fear doesn't vanish, but champions don't wait for it to disappear before they take action. They move forward in spite of it because they know that waiting for fear to leave will only delay their success. Fear often comes hand in hand with the pursuit of something meaningful. It's a signal that you're stepping outside of your comfort zone, stretching into new territory. Champions understand that growth doesn't happen in the safety of the familiar. It happens when you dare to step into the unknown. They don't let fear paralyze them. They use it as a motivator. They channel that energy into action, using the fear to fuel their drive instead of allowing it to stop them. The key is not eliminating fear, but choosing to act with it. Every champion has doubts, moments where they wonder if they're capable, if they'll succeed, if the risk is worth it. But what makes them champions is their ability to take action regardless. They move even when their hearts race, even when the path ahead is uncertain, because they know that no step forward is wasted, no effort goes unnoticed. Every action taken is a step closer to their goal, and no matter how small the step, it moves them further than staying still ever could. So can you? You don't have to wait for fear to disappear before you take action. You don't need to feel completely confident or certain. What you need is the willingness to move forward despite the fear. Fear is part of the process, and it doesn't mean you're not strong, capable, or ready. It simply means you're on the edge of growth. Just like every champion before you, you can embrace the fear, move through it, and make progress toward what you truly want. You can't control the fear, but you can control your response to it. Every time you act despite fear, you build your own resilience. You show yourself that you are stronger than the doubts and worries that arise. Champions don't have a magical ability to ignore fear. They simply choose to press forward anyway. It's a choice, one you can make every day. It's in those moments of fear that you prove to yourself what you're truly made of. Each step forward, no matter how hesitant or uncertain, is a sign that you're pushing boundaries, growing, and evolving. Every champion has faced it, some daily, some in the biggest moments of their careers. But what made them champions wasn't that they had no fear, it was that they kept going anyway. And so can you. Your path may not always be easy, but every time you choose to move in spite of fear, you move one step closer to becoming the champion of your own life.